Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 191 based on novel. So let's start. Land of origin, within the quiet room of Yuan's cave mansion. A towering figure sat cross-legged, his body like a pillar of the infinite primordial space, unshakable. Around him appeared various great Tao, all becoming tangible. Some took the form of winding divine dragons around his arm, while firebirds circled between his hair, radiant mists flowed through his mouth and nose, and billions of universes were born on the surface of his skin. Lord, the Feng 7 line in the Chunwei world group has fallen. Lord, the Chaozu origin world has been breached, its origin devoured. Lord, the Ice Peak camp has entered our Chunwei world group. I wanted to repel them, but a terrifying existence from the Ice Peak camp acted, destroying my main battle avatar. The Ice Peak camp has already conquered 12 of our world groups. They clearly are not satisfied. Information flowed in continuously. Yuan, as the first lord of the cultivator camp, had immense accumulation, and his path of cultivation made him very suitable to oversee the entire territory. Although there are 7 lords in the cultivator camp managing different lands, key affairs generally fall under Yuan's decision-making. Only extremely important matters are discussed by all 7 lords together. A vast amount of information was transmitted continually. Yuan calmly issued command after command. He slowly opened his eyes, which contained life and death across time and space, as well as rising thunder and flames. While our cultivator camp is completely suppressed by the innate primordial life camp, other forces also come to take advantage and bite. Yuan was quite annoyed. Yet there was nothing he could do. After all, in the infinite primordial space, though the 7 lords of the cultivator camp are formidable, the other forces are equally troublesome. No force with a seat in the land of eternity is easy to deal with. Especially those unrestrained, undying existences. They currently take advantage to annex the resources of the cultivator camp, which greatly troubled Yuan. Under normal circumstances, the 7 lords could make some undying existences flee in defeat. But under the threat from the innate primordial life camp, the lords couldn't spare any strength. There are still too few lords. Why is the innate primordial life camp the largest force? Because they possess over 100 ancestors. Yuan pondered. Cultivator Luofeng has comprehended the 97th world-level primordial bloodline. An inconspicuous piece of information among many did surprise Yuan. He has already comprehended 97. Yuan began to focus his attention. To have comprehended 97 world-level primordial bloodlines was already very special. Because of the current 7 lords, 5 first refined the source world, becoming master of the source world, and relied on abilities of speed of thought, comprehension at the master level to eventually comprehend the primordial level Tao. The remaining 2, Starlight Lord and Lord Nijiu, fusion Tao cultivators and once spent a long time comprehending the world-level primordial bloodline. Lord Nijiu, before jumping out of the braided cage, comprehended 397 types of world-level primordial bloodline. Starlight Lord, before jumping out of the braided cage, comprehended 512 types of world-level primordial bloodline. Of course, they both shared a common point. Back then, the cultivator camp collected far fewer world-level primordial bloodlines than now, less than half the number today. In history, among fusion Tao cultivators, the number who comprehended over 100 world-level primordial bloodlines before jumping out of the braided cage is only Starlight and Nijiu. Yuan held some expectation. Luofeng's current place of seclusion was maintaining a million-fold time acceleration. He comprehended world-level primordial bloodlines swiftly. Cultivator Luofeng comprehended the 100th world-level primordial bloodline. Cultivator Luofeng comprehended the 159th world-level primordial bloodline. Cultivator Luofeng comprehended the 231st world-level primordial bloodline. Yuan originally paid just a bit of attention while handling various affairs to Luofeng's information. Later, he primarily focused on Luofeng's information. The importance of all other information in the cultivator camp was pushed back. How so fast? In just one era, from the original 43 types rose to 231 types. Yuan was somewhat stunned, even considering the time acceleration in the cave mansion. Comprehending 200 types in a million eras was still fast. Yuan did not immediately notify the other 6 lords. At that moment, their 7 main battle avatars were engaged against 71 ancestor-level existences. On one side, experienced and numerous, their coordinated efforts held an absolute advantage, aiming to annihilate a lord's main battle avatar, forcing the remaining 6 into complete retreat. On the other side, mastering the essence of Tao, 7 leading in defense yet looking to kill a weak ancestor. Their battles at this level could last over 1,000 eras and still be the norm. 300 types of world-level primordial bloodline. 400 types. Already 513 types, he is now the cultivator camp figure who comprehended the most world-level primordial bloodlines before jumping out of the braided cage. Yuan was excited, the most intense he's been in a long time. Luo Feng's number of world-level primordial bloodline comprehension exceeded that of Lord Nijiu, and Starlight Lord was not Yuan's main excitement, though once the primordial bloodlines were much fewer. His fundamental excitement stemmed from speed. Luo Feng's rate of comprehension was simply overwhelming, sweeping through without obstruction. None of the world-level primordial bloodlines took Luo Feng too long to comprehend. It's 600 types now. It's 800 types now. It's 1,000 types now. Yuan's eyes shone brightly. In less than 10 eras of time, which isn't even 10 million eras in real time, he's comprehended so many world-level primordial bloodlines. He must have grasped the essence of them. What kind of essence can penetrate through over 1,000 types of world-level primordial bloodlines? Luo Feng must have already touched upon some kind of highest level of power. Yuan immediately sent messages to the other 6 lords. Everyone, focus all efforts on dealing with these ancestors and try to delay them as much as possible. Yuan transmitted, I have good news for you all, our cultivator camp is likely to give birth to a new lord. Land of origin. All 7 lords had avatars present, gathered together. A new lord? Jin, Wulan, Minghuang, Nijiu, Starlight, Mo Man, and Yuan were all somewhat excited at this moment, for they had been severely suppressed by the innate primordial life camp in the recent eras. Some other forces even took advantage of this, naturally making them quite aggrieved. They even predicted that, given the enemy's determination to go all out this time, the entire realm of the cultivator camp might fall. Losing all territories means losing the soil for cultivating endless new cultivators, making it incredibly difficult to nurture a lord again. Moreover, the extinction of countless cultivator creatures was something the 7 lords were unwilling to witness. Luo Feng has already comprehended over 1,000 types of world-level primordial bloodlines. The 6 lords who just received the news were somewhat shocked. How long has he been cultivating? Lord Mo Man couldn't help but say, only about 1,500 eras? Considering the actual seclusion time, it's only been 1.5 billion eras. That's such a short time. It is very short. Starlight Lord said softly, back when I used the power-breaking technique, the real time was about 12 billion eras. Through the unimaginably long ages of suffering, the Starlight Lord finally mastered the space-time Tao of the primordial level. Starlight, don't you have many avatars in the future? Jin asked excitedly, urging, quickly take a look, see Luo Feng's future. I just observed some time ago, then, I saw over 30 million futures for him with only 9 that could become a lord. I'll take another look now. Starlight Lord began observing information about Luo Feng through his avatars in the future. In every timeline of the future, space is vast with a plethora of information to probe. Discover the weaknesses of those ancestors, finding the possibility to kill an ancestor in combat. Observing how other nearby forces will act. Luo Feng as a junior, Starlight Lord would only occasionally check on him. Starlight Lord's expression slightly changed. The 6 surrounding lords looked towards Starlight Lord, such a strong ability to observe the future solely in the infinite primordial space. Even within the primordial ancestors, some excelled in space-time. Yet even if they can revive from the future, it costs a long time to do so, indicating that their space-time mastery is far behind Starlight Lord. Only Starlight Lord was qualified to be called the observer and recorder of past, present, future in infinite primordial space. What happened? Jin asked. Many of Luo Feng's future timelines have already collapsed and extinguished, unified and constrained into one future. Starlight Lord said in disbelief, the path ahead of him has only one possibility, to break laws with force. I observed over 30 million timelines, and he has tried using the power-breaking technique, succeeding in over 20 million times. Those failed attempts are still ongoing. Starlight looked at the Six Lords. The Six Lords could hardly believe it. The future contains too many possibilities. Jin Lord couldn't help but say, yet his future has now started to collapse and unify. The future swiftly collapsing, consolidating into one possibility, this is the reality that is about to be born. Reality is rapidly locking in. Unable to alter. He should have already mastered the highest level of secrets. Lord Ming Huang said, so it only takes time to unify all wonders, transforming into primordial level Tao. Such strong comprehension. Wulan couldn't help but mutter, I became the master of the source world after spending 50 trillion eras to become a lord. How long has he been cultivating? Starlight Lord's gaze swept over the Six Lords, everyone, Luo Feng's future is collapsing and unifying, his future is also affecting the entire cultivator camp's future. Yuan and the others listened to Starlight Lord's narration. A being that can observe countless future possibilities, his advice is invaluable. I will immediately arrange a formation for Luo Feng's cave mansion, mobilizing the power of the entire land of origin to maintain, increasing the time acceleration of his cave mansion. Starlight Lord said. From now on, the war strategy changes to delay strategy, stalling the progress of this war. Starlight Lord said, delay until Luo Feng completely uses the power-breaking technique. The situation will change then. Okay. The Six Lords all agreed, the imminent arrival of new companions and the potential reversal of the war situation excited them individually. At this moment, the 71 ancestors from the innate primordial life camp and the 7 lords from the cultivator side are engaged in a terrifying war within the Bozun world cluster. Yet, at this moment, the battle avatar of the Starlight Lord among the 7 lords has quietly reduced to 70% energy reserve. For each lord, due to the differences in their Tao, there is a limitation to the energy reserves they can manage. When one avatar takes up more, the other avatars can only take up less. In life and death struggles, the battle avatar can take up 99% of the energy, while all other avatars combined barely reach 1%. At this moment, the battle avatar of the Starlight Lord only occupies 70%, naturally causing his strength to decline. However, with his space-time expertise, in coordination with his companions, it's enough to delay rather than kill. Ha ha ha, the origin of this source world is mine. A massive world-level primordial life approaches a source world, its power quietly infiltrating the source world. An ownerless source world operates according to its rules, even a godly king can't infiltrate it, naturally unable to stop the infiltration by a world-level primordial power. What is this? No. The creatures within this source world, though they can't see the colossal entity outside the source world, feel the world-level primordial power spreading like dark clouds, instantly shrouding the entire source world. Enshrouded by dark clouds, destruction descends. Boom! In an instant, all creatures, all lands and rivers, all space-time were annihilated. Complete destruction. This terrifying power also permeates into the origin of the source world, starting to absorb the origin. The origin of this source world is too vast. This world-level primordial life only feels the origin vast like the sea, though it is a big fish, it still requires a long time to devour an entire sea. To absorb the entire origin of this source world, it's estimated to take 120 eras. Based on its absorption speed, with the experience of other world-level primordials in the camp, it made a rough estimate. Destroying all beings in the source world is just a thought. But to absorb the origin takes 120 eras. Not to mention even an ancestor personally absorbing a source world would also take quite some time to fully absorb. Buzz. A phantom descends, rapidly coalescing into a black-robed young man, one of the avatars of the Starlight Lord. Not good. The world-level primordial life, in the midst of absorbing the source world origin, was instantly stunned upon seeing this black-robed young man. Fear. Despair. This black-robed young man is the most feared lord among the entire innate primordial life camp, Starlight. Stalked by him, there is no escape. This is the most feared lord among the innate primordial lives. The black-robed young man glanced and knew that the creatures of that source world were annihilated. He wasted no words, with a thought, caused the space-time to shatter like a mirror. The world-level primordial body shattered with it, along with its life core, instantly killing it. With a wave of his hand, he collected this body. At this moment, numerous thoughts from Starlight Lord Remote descended into each space-time. Each thought could rapidly absorb power from multiple spacetimes to form a strong avatar, swiftly annihilating one world-level primordial life after another. Filled with fury, he couldn't be bothered to waste time capturing, it was all about killing swiftly. Lords can descend a thought across endless distance. But it's just a thought, with very weak power. Even if they absorb some primordial force, they can only slaughter some high-level primordial lives. To easily kill a world-level primordial perfection life, a Lord's avatar also needs approximately 1/10,000th of the energy reserve. A remotely descended thought, merely absorbing primordial force, to reach 1/10,000th of the energy reserve, even for Golden Lord, Lord Nigu, and others, it will take about 1 Earth day. Too slow. Starlight Lord is an exception. He had set up a spacetime net in the 3600 world cluster of the cultivator territory. With the spacetime net, cultivators could easily teleport to various places. Starlight Lord can also utilize the spacetime net to swiftly absorb surrounding spacetime power. Although the Boson world cluster was attacked and the spacetime net was destroyed in the first instance, Starlight Lord can still absorb energy not only from the present spacetime but also from past multiple spacetimes. In many past timelines, there existed a complete spacetime net spread throughout the 3600 world cluster. Absorbing power from multiple spacetimes, nearby regions could be instantly absorbed, enabling an avatar to quickly reach beyond 1/10,000th energy reserve. Of course, to go further, it requires absorbing from farther distances, increasing the absorption difficulty rapidly. By leveraging the spacetime net, absorbing nearby multiple spacetime powers can instantly exceed 1/10,000th energy reserve, elevating Starlight Lord's ability to garrison territories to the top among the 7 lords. Although garrisoning the territory is limited to the 3600 world cluster range, and only affects below ancestor level, even Yuan acknowledges Starlight's contribution is the highest among the lords. Before the birth of Starlight Lord, there were only 5 lords. The cultivator territory had only expanded to 800 world clusters, yet even so, warfare often engulfed the 800 world clusters. Bus. 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 In the Boson world cluster, numerous regions saw black-robed young men descending. When encountering high-level primordial lives, he just waved his hand and captured them all. Because for an avatar with 1/10,000th energy reserve, slaughtering and capturing take the same time. When encountering world-level primordials, killing is prioritized. Capturing them takes more time. The 71 ancestors at this moment also received the news, naturally infuriated. How dare he, while engaging with us, to even split forces to deal with the little ones? This Starlight Lord has divided part of his power, his effective strength will significantly drop. Everyone, give your all, crush them. Facing the 7 lords of the cultivators, they were very vigilant, fearing being counterkilled by 1 or 2. After all, in this war, even combined, they had already lost 3 ancestors in counterkills. Now, the cultivators' Starlight Lord dared to divide power? From the most threatening lord, lower to a normal lord level. Naturally, they felt much relieved, gaining the confidence to attack full force. Kill. Completely destroy them. The 71 ancestors' attacks became even more terrifying. However, the 7 lords of the cultivators were solely focused on defense. The vast formation arranged by Yuan perfectly coordinated the power of the Seven Lords, enabling them together to withstand these ancestors' siege. Just in a moment, I have already slain over 3,500 world-level primordials, countless high-level primordials. Starlight Lord informed his companions. The mid and low tier of the innate primordial life camp have started panicking. Their attack speed is beginning to slow down. Who wouldn't be anxious in the face of Starlight Lord's slaughter? Fear, retreat, merely dispatching weak avatars? Originally, the conquest of a world cluster could be completed in 1 or 2,000 eras, but under the threat of Starlight Lord, the time cost would be upwards of 100-fold. The key is that we have to hold out. Even with the coordination of formations from the Seven Lords, the pressure was still immense. After all, in terms of individual strength, Starlight Lord was the strongest. His diminished power significantly impacted the Seven working as one. What we need to do is hold him back. At this moment, Wu Lan's body was incredibly large, almost as big as a source world, shielding the other lords from the storm. As a master of the primordial material Tao, his defensive abilities were the strongest among the Seven Lords. The pressure brought by 71 ancestors was mostly borne by Wu Lan. Of course, each lord had their specialties, and only by joining forces could they pose such a threat to the ancestors. The change in warfare strategy slowed the offensive of the lower levels in the innate primordial life camp, but the offensives of the ancestors became even more ferocious. The land of origin. During Luo Feng's cultivation, he suddenly sensed the formation of the cave mansion being triggered. Some creature had adept entered his cave mansion. Who could break into the cave mansion without my permission? Luo Feng immediately sent an avatar out of the quiet room and at a glance saw a middle-aged man in the distance. The man looked quite ordinary, but had a mark on his brow. I am Starlight, the middle-aged man smiled as he said. Luo Feng greets the Starlight Lord. Luo Feng was quite astonished and immediately bowed. Starlight Lord stood there without any aura. If it weren't for the cave mansion formation alerting him to a cultivator's presence, Luo Feng wouldn't have sensed him at all. He seemed transcendent, beyond the entire space and time. To comprehend over 1,000 types of world-level primordial bloodline is indeed rare. Starlight Lord smiled slightly. With such comprehension, I suspect you are also preparing to attempt to break laws with force. Yes, I am indeed planning on breaking laws with force. Luo Feng nodded in acknowledgement. Senior Starlight also used this technique. Can you give me some guidance? Looking at Luo Feng, Starlight Lord said with a smile, breaking laws with force cannot be taught. I can only say that walking this path requires enough patience. He had endured a very long time in the past. Luo Feng nodded. You intend to break laws with force, it will likely take a long time. Starlight Lord smiled slightly. I shall give you a hand by greatly accelerating the flow of time in your cave mansion's quiet room. Thank you, Senior Starlight. Luo Feng was overjoyed. Starlight Lord nodded, and the space-time of the entire cave mansion began to twist. The space-time rules of this area were altered, drawing energy from the entire land of origin to perpetually maintain the time-space state here. In just a moment, the changes in rules succeeded, ensuring long-term maintenance. The time flow in your cave mansion's quiet room has been adjusted to 1 billion times, Starlight Lord said, and it cannot be increased or decreased. It is in a fixed state. Adjusting the time flow rate is relatively more complex. After all, adjusting from 1 to 1 million times is relatively easy. But 1 billion times? A constant state actually makes spacetime more stable. I understand, Luo Feng said with considerable gratitude. His greatest worry was that during the warfare, the source world of the land of origin would be breached. Now, with the time flow increased to 1 billion times, he had more time on his hands. Work hard, Starlight Lord smiled and then departed. Inside the cave mansion's quiet room, Luo Feng noticed the difference in the flow of time and couldn't help but smile. The time that passes here compares to the outside world as one breath against an eternity. Continue comprehending the world-level primordial bloodline. Luo Feng disregarded the turbulent outside world. He knew he couldn't help at present and continued according to his original cultivation plan, meticulously studying each piece of material. Study the materials first, understand the bloodline later, and compare them to each other. continuous, one piece after another. Unintentionally, he had studied the world-level primordial bloodline thoroughly. 2,729 compatible types of world-level primordial bloodline, yet I have not comprehended them all, only 2010 types, Luophone thought. These 2729 are divided into life category, destruction category, and life and death combined category. Among them, life category accounted for about 87% of his comprehension. Life and death combined accounted for about 95%. Destruction category was where he had only comprehended a little over half. My life and death Tao is primarily based on life, this direction has a deeper accumulation. My accumulation in the destruction category is somewhat lacking, Luophone thought. Of course, it was only somewhat lacking. Among 995 destruction categories, Luophone could comprehend 503 types of world-level primordial bloodline. It should be noted that before breaking out of the braided cage, only he, Starlight, and Nijiu had comprehended over 100 types of world-level primordial bloodline. This clearly showed Luophone's profound accumulation in destruction as well. After all, throughout his cultivation path, he had explored all three types of bloodline equally. No matter how much Luophone comprehended world-level primordial bloodline or ancestor-level materials, his gains were minimal, and he faintly understood that it would be difficult to make significant gains in these bloodlines and materials. I can begin the next step. Attempt to create the primordial life and death Tao. Luophone's eyes burned with determination. He had amassed strength over long ages, waiting for this very moment. This video will end here.